Good evening, you're watching Sky News at 6. I'm Kimberley Leonard. The top stories. Rare red weather alerts are in force across the country as Storm Emma starts to bite. In Cornwall, a 7-year-old girl has been killed after a car crashed into a house in what police believe to be a weather-related accident. In Ireland, whole towns are being shut down as the Prime Minister tells the nation to stay indoors. Scotland has also been hit hard, with drivers warned to stay off the roads. Still, however hard the conditions are, some are making the most of the weather. Good evening. Storm Emma is now sweeping across the southwest of the UK and Ireland, adding to the disruption which has already been caused. Large parts of eastern England and much of Scotland are already suffering from freezing temperatures and heavy snow, and the National Grid is warning that the UK may not have enough gas to meet demand. This is Sky News at 5. The headlines this afternoon.
The number of members in support of the motion of no confidence, therefore asking that Henry Bolton be removed as leader, is 867.
Out after less than 5 months, UKIP's membership votes to sack its leader. Well, live to Sky senior political correspondent John Craig. He's in Westminster. And John, we're getting more information about what happened during that meeting between Mrs. May and Mr. Tusk, including what they ate: poached fillet of lemon sole with brown shrimp. That's Food right. Aside, John, what happened in that meeting? Let's go back to the States, where I was just telling you about that situation in Nashville, Tennessee. There's live pictures from there. According to a police statement, the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, they've issued a statement saying that 3 people were shot dead early on Sunday morning by a nude gunman. He also injured at least 4 other people in the early hours of Sunday morning. It happened at about 3:25 a.m. in a suburb southeast of Nashville. It happened in a Waffle House in Antioch. And according to their statement, a patron wrestled away the gunman's rifle. He was nude and he fled on foot. He is a white man with short hair. So he's not in custody. He's on the run. He was nude at the time of the shooting. 3 people were killed and at least 4 more injured in Nashville, Tennessee. Good afternoon. Earthquakes are a relatively rare occurrence in the UK, but today parts of South Wales, the west of England, and even Birmingham were shaken by a pretty sizable one. In fact, with a magnitude of 4.4, it is the largest quake in the UK for 10 years. Well, the epicenter was in South Wales, with the British Geological Survey placing it roughly 20 kilometres north-northeast of Swansea. My colleague Kay Burley was one of the many who felt the quake when it happened. So the Guardian front page, they've been talking to a former Home Office employer who was involved with these landing cards and explains how they were destroyed. They were in this government building, it was being shut down, and these landing cards dated back to the 50s and 60s. So the Home Office says that this won't make a difference and that it was data protection. But this employer says that managers in his department were told, listen, we can't destroy these cards because it's the only record we have of these people coming to the country. They were disregarded and these landing cards were destroyed. International chemical weapons experts are to finally enter Douma in Syria after a UN security team went in to assess the situation there. Well, Syria's UN ambassador has said inspectors from the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons will go in today if the UN team decides, quote, the situation is sound. They'll investigate an alleged chemical attack by the Syrian regime, which is said to have killed at least 70 people. Specialist teams comb the site for clues in the Russian spy saga. Military personnel trained in chemical and biological decontamination have been deployed across the city as authorities try to reassure the public they're not at risk. At 3 o'clock, the Home Secretary will chair an emergency meeting of the government's Cobra Committee following her visit to the crime scene yesterday. Well, in a moment, we'll speak to our political correspondent Jason Farrell about that government committee meeting. But first, to the cemetery in Salisbury and our crime correspondent Martin Brunt. Martin, we've seen some ambulances moving in there in the last few minutes. What's been going on? Let's leave Martin for the moment and turn to central London and talk to Jason Farrell, because the Home Secretary Amber Rudd is due to chair an emergency Cobra meeting in the next hour. Jason, do we have any idea about any specific detail going to be discussed in that meeting?